poetry initiative.
Welcome to today's episode. We're diving into a forensic billing review that's anything but ordinary. It centers on a hospital encounter involving Lowell A. Unruh at Methodist Texan during October and November of 2024. What we're looking at isn't just a routine audit. It's a deep dive into billing patterns that suggest intentional financial engineering rather than simple clerical mistakes.
Right, Liam, and that distinction is crucial. Healthcare billing is notoriously complex, but when you start seeing patterns that don't line up with normal operations, it raises red flags. This case is a perfect example of how forensic analysis can uncover manipulation that might otherwise fly under the radar.
Exactly. So let's start with one of the most striking findings, the systematic duplication of billing files. The forensic team found repeated files with names like copy, and suffixes like _1 or _1 copy. This isn't just a few accidental duplicates. It's a clear pattern of rebill, void, and rebill cycles.
It's like a copy machine stuck on repeat, churning out slightly altered versions of the same document. And that's not consistent with routine file handling. Instead, it points to ongoing post-event manipulation, billing being reprocessed multiple times, possibly to maximize reimbursement or obscure the true billing history.
And it's not just the duplication. The billing folders contain three distinct but interwoven layers. The Reverend Detail Bills, which are the facility charge details, the Reverend EDI 835 files, which are Medicare remittance advices from Novitas, and the UB04 claim forms submitted to Medicare and Humana.
Just to clarify for our listeners, the UB04 forms are the standard claim forms hospitals submit to payers, and the EDI 835 files are electronic remittance advices that show what Medicare actually paid or denied. So these layers should align closely.
Right, but here they didn't. These layers failed to reconcile one-to-one. That means the charges and payments across these different billing streams didn't line up neatly. This kind of split billing can lead to duplicate diagnoses-related group exposure, which is a big compliance risk.
So the hospital was essentially billing multiple payers for overlapping services without clear alignment. That's a serious red flag.
Exactly. And the timing of the billing activity is also telling. The forensic review highlighted clusters of billing around November 1st to 3rd, November 13th, and November 15th, 2024. These dates correspond to denial, adjustment, and rebill cycles, especially following an interfacility transfer.
Normally, a transfer between facilities shouldn't trigger new episodes of care or fresh billing cycles. But here, it looks like the transfer was used strategically to justify new billing episodes. That's a classic move to maximize reimbursement opportunities.
That's interesting. So the transfer wasn't just a clinical event, but also a financial trigger?
Exactly. It seems to have been leveraged to reset the billing clock, so to speak.
Another layer of complexity comes from what the reports call facility identifier fragmentation. The same hospital, Methodist Texan, appeared under multiple internal facility identifiers for the same patient and time frame.
Think of it like a shell game. Different departments or cost centers within the hospital each generate separate bills for the same episode of care. This segmentation allows the hospital to reroute charges, reclassify claims, or selectively disclose information, making it much harder to reconcile the billing.
That definitely complicates oversight. And then there's the overlap between Medicare fee-for-service billing and Humana Medicare Advantage billing for the same dates and services. Under Medicare secondary payer rules, you can't bill both simultaneously for the same service.
That overlap raises the risk of duplicate payments and potential violations of federal regulations. It's a significant compliance concern because it suggests the hospital was trying to monetize the same services through multiple payer pathways.
One of the most critical findings was the absence of audit trails, voids, reversals, or correction explanations accompanying these duplicated billing files. In regulated healthcare billing, any changes must be documented with metadata explaining why a bill was voided or corrected.
The lack of these markers is a smoking gun. It strongly supports the inference that these billing files were reconstructed after the fact, rather than being contemporaneously documented. That's a serious red flag for intentional manipulation.
So no audit trail means no accountability, right?
Exactly. Without audit trails, it's nearly impossible to verify the legitimacy of the billing changes, or to trace who made them and why.
This brings us to the adverse inference methodology the forensic team applied. They assumed the billing system was competent and that regulatory requirements were understood. So, when no benign explanation exists for these anomalies, the inference is that the billing structure was intentionally designed to obscure and manipulate.
In other words, the billing chaos isn't accidental. It's a deliberate strategy to fragment episodes, multiply claims, and defeat traceability by patients, auditors, and regulators. That's a heavy conclusion, but one supported by the evidence.
I imagine that's a tough call to make, but the evidence seems pretty clear.
Yes, and it's important to note that this isn't just about sloppy paperwork. It's about intentional design to game the system.
And the legal and compliance implications are significant. The billing patterns expose the hospital to potential violations of the False Claims Act, the Medicare Secondary Payer Act, IRS nonprofit reporting rules, and fiduciary oversight obligations.
Because there's no single reconciled accounting, any reimbursement or subrogation claim is premature and legally vulnerable. The instability and duplication undermine the reliability of benefits paid assertions and complicate audits and legal proceedings.
So this kind of billing chaos can really derail legal processes and make enforcement much harder.
Exactly. It muddies the waters and makes it difficult to establish what was legitimately billed and paid.
So what are the recommended next steps? The forensic report suggests demanding production of void, rebill, and adjustment logs, comparisons between original and corrected UB04 claim forms, chronological reconstruction of claims by service and bill dates, and justification for any claims treated as new episodes after October 14, 2024.
These steps aim to restore transparency and establish a single source of truth. Without that, it's impossible to determine what's legitimately owed or to ensure compliance.
That makes sense. It's about creating a clear, auditable trail that can withstand scrutiny.
Exactly. And it's a reminder of why audit trails and version control are so critical in healthcare billing.
To wrap up, this case really highlights how hospital billing systems can be manipulated post-event to maximize revenue improperly. The forensic approach reveals patterns invisible to casual review, like a detective piecing together a financial puzzle.
It also underscores the critical importance of audit trails, version control, and reconciled billing in healthcare compliance. For regulators and auditors, it's a reminder that billing data structures can be weaponized, requiring sophisticated forensic methods to uncover the truth.
Absolutely. And for anyone working in healthcare compliance or auditing, this case is a textbook example of why you can't just take billing data at face value. You have to dig deeper.
Well said, Liam. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for joining us as we unpacked this complex forensic billing review. We hope it gave you some valuable insights into the challenges and risks in healthcare billing.
Thanks, everyone. Until next time.